to the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast with your hosts Griffin Palmer, CJ Hickman, Jason Cabrera, and Ryan Mitchell.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is September 28th, show number 250 for us. Holy crap, Jason, how have we made it to such an unbelievable milestone?
Kicking and screaming all the way. That's how we've made it.
Holy crap.
All the way here.
It is Friday. It is our typical Friday show. Of course, we have all of our starts and sits for week number 4. Man, we've made it. This is a landmark. This is pretty darn cool. But here's to the first 250 of many. Yeah, right? It's a big, important episode, and CJ can't be bothered, so here we go. But, yep, we're down a member. Go figure. So much for making the show special. But, yeah, we're going to be here holding down the fort, giving you guys everything you need to get ready for week number 4. Before we get to that, make sure you guys subscribe wherever you're listening. We are on YouTube. We are on the formerly known iTunes, the Apple Podcast app. We are on Google Play. We are on Stitcher. We are on Podcast Addict. We are on Podcast Bean. We are all over the web. Just look for basically the Fantasy Football Fanatics on most podcast sources, and you'll probably find us there. We're working to go on even more platforms. And if you want to support the show, head over to patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. Help us keep these lights on, these microphones recording, and keep us doing what we're doing. So before we get to any of that, let's start with the warm-up, which is simply, Jason, what were your thoughts on that Thursday night game? I've been saying for a while that is potentially, and when I saw it on the docket before they even started, that could be the NFC Championship game. I mean, maybe throw the Eagles in there, or maybe one or two other teams, but high probability. What were your thoughts on that game? I thought it lived up to the billing.
It was pretty good. I mean, that offense of the Rams is just operating on a different level right now. I mean, it looked like Goff was literally just doing whatever he wanted. I mean, he was just throwing the ball down the field. He could have closed his eyes and thrown the ball down the field, and he would have hit one of his receivers. Tons and tons of yardage in this game. Tons of points in this game. Not a lot of defense, which was surprising given the fact you're talking about two of the best defenses in the NFL. I mean, there were some pretty key defensive plays, but overall, this Rams team is just operating at an amazing rate. And from the other side, from the Vikings standpoint, I think there's still some growing pains with their new quarterback. They're trying to kind of get themselves in a position where they kind of know who they are. Plus, they're not utilizing Dalvin Cook yet. He was on a pitch count. I think that was part of the reason that they weren't as explosive as they could have been. But overall, it was a really, really fun game to watch.
Yep, came down to the final drive. So one-score game is how it ended. And, I mean, yeah, I agree. Jared Goff was out there looking awesome. He didn't always look like he had all day, but he always had somebody open. That Vikings secondary was having a really hard time keeping up. Xavier Rhodes looked like he was outclassed at times. I mean, he had
a lot of cramping going on.
He had some cramping later on, that's true. And vice versa. I mean, the Vikings offense, I mean, they took a little bit longer to get going, but I thought they looked really good as well. Freaking Adam Thielen gets pulled from the game because they thought he might have a concussion, which, I mean, he clearly didn't. And he goes back in the next series, and he manhandles 2 or 3 defenders and goes and gets a touchdown. So, I mean, it was a very entertaining game. Some missed kicks made it even more dramatic towards the end. And, yeah, I enjoyed the game. It was a very good product for a Thursday night football game. So there you go.
For sure.
With that, let's move on to some of our top headlines from around the league. And we'll start at the quarterback position, where Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers returned to practice in a limited capacity on Thursday, dealing with a knee injury. I expect, unless we hear about a setback, he is going to play. What say you, Jason?
Yeah, I can't see him not playing this game.
I would be shocked if he did not play. As is typical for the news that we're covering on a Friday show, it's basically all injury updates, so we're just going to go through these relatively quickly. We have at the running back position, we'll start in New Orleans, where Saints running back Alvin Kamara was upgraded to a full participant in Thursday's practice, dealing with a knee injury, so obviously that is good news for him and his owners. I was not ever expecting him to miss time, so there you go. Atlanta Falcons running back Devonta Freeman returned to practice in limited capacity on Thursday, dealing with his knee injury. Do you think he plays this week against the Bengals?
I'd sit him down. They're playing well without him. Tevin Coleman's doing a good job. I'd keep him sat down, wait for him to come back at 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the thought process behind that decision. So we will see, obviously, and we'll let you know more. Follow us on Twitter at the FF Fanatics. Get your game day starts and sits, your actives and inactives. Let's go to Jacksonville, where Jaguars running back Leonard Fournette returned to practice on Thursday in a limited capacity. So there's another name we haven't seen since week 1. So I kind of in the same camp with him. I'm kind of waiting to see it, playing the Jets, which is a team that they should be able to run on. but I just don't know. This game is in Jacksonville. We shall see. Philadelphia Eagles running back Jay Ajayi was reportedly dealing with a back fracture. We knew he had a back injury, but we didn't know the severity until recently, so that's pretty bad. They're still saying they expect him to play this weekend. I think we'll see. Running back Corey Clement was also added to the injury report on Thursday, listed as limited. So they're pretty banged up in that running back core there. So Darren Sproles should be back. Wendell Smallwood's still there as well. One of the times that I wish CJ was here so he could weigh in, because that's his Eagles team. He covers them very closely. But yeah, we will see. Obviously, we'll update you as we know more. But this is that's an impressive injury to come back from, depending on how severe it actually was. Let's go to Cincinnati, where Bengals running back Joe Mixon resumed running and cutting on Thursday, coming back from that knee scope where he had some fragments of bone removed from his knee. He did not officially participate in practice, however. He was doing these exercises off on the side, so that is worth noting. I don't expect him to play this week. What about you, Jason?
Probably not. I'd rest him.
Yeah. Let's go to San Francisco, where 49ers running back Matt Breida returned to practice, dealing with a knee injury as well. He is, I think, expected to play, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he didn't. What do you think about this one, Jason?
I think he'll probably play in this particular game.
Yeah, well, I mean, time will tell. That'll be the beautiful thing. We'll let you guys know when we know more. Of course, on the road in San Francisco, they are San Francisco. On the road in Los Angeles, playing the Chargers.
Los Angeles,
so, yeah, this is man, they just lost their quarterback. They're banged up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if this team is getting ready to phone in the rest of the season, or if they're gonna rush him back and try hard and see what they can do. So, we'll see. Let's go to the wide receiver position, where Houston Texans wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins remained sidelined at practice on Thursday, dealing with thumb, hamstring, and ankle injuries. The expectation is that he will play, though. He's a tough guy. He plays through this stuff all the time on the road against division rivals, the Colts. I don't know. Do you think he won't play, Jason?
I think he's going to force his way onto the field.
I agree with that. I just don't see it. I think that this is a good matchup, and he's going to want to be out there and try and get the Texans their first win of the season. Let's go to Cincinnati, where Bengals wide receiver A.J. Green practiced on Thursday, of course, dealing with that groin injury that forced him from the game early in the third quarter. Head coach Marvin Jones did say in an interview earlier in the week that he was optimistic about his status moving forward. It's trending that he might play. Now, it's a great matchup against the Falcons, so you could make an argument that he's still worth a start, but, man, this is it's one of those things you kind of hope that they rest the guy. Yeah. We'll see. We will see. He's in a lot of my lineups. If he plays for me. I think he will be used as a diversion, but the secondary is so suspect and banged up in Atlanta right now that I think that he could still pull you one or two big plays and give you a serviceable game, unless you have much better options. I think he's kind of a must-play.
Agreed.
Obviously, we'll update you as we know more. If the injury seems to be deteriorating, we'll give other advice, and we'll let you guys know that on Twitter at the FF Fanatics. Let's go to Los Angeles, speaking of the Chargers earlier on, where wide receiver Keenan Allen remained sidelined at practice on Thursday, dealing with a knee injury. I think the expectation is that he will play, though I have not heard anything concretely yet. What say you, Jason?
I say if you're a Keenan Allen owner, that I would be very, very careful with him. Keep a close eye on it. I would put him on my bench and put a different person in for right now, just to make sure you don't accidentally start him. Because if he does play, I think he'll be on a pitch count.
I could see that, yeah. Well, and we'll let you know when we know more. Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster returned to practice in a limited capacity on Thursday, dealing with that abdominal injury at his abdomen. I thought he was sick, but maybe that's what they're talking about. But yeah, it's a good sign. He's expected to play. So against my Ravens on Sunday Night Football, which makes me remember how much I don't want him to play. I don't know. Maybe I'm too close to this. What are your thoughts, Jason?
Yeah, I think he'll play.
Yeah. Seattle Seahawks wide receiver Doug Baldwin said in a recent interview that he is chomping at the bit, and that's a quote, and that he is ready to go. So I think that once he's medically cleared, he will be in, and we will know very soon. Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver Alshon Jeffrey remained sidelined at practice. Oh, no. Well, he was not sidelined. He was just absent from the practice. Excuse me. I read that wrong. So that's interesting. Don't really know what that means. He's, of course, still coming back from that shoulder injury. We'll let you know when we know more. It's very up in the air. It's a very open-ended report. Let's see. New England Patriots, still weird to say this, wide receiver Josh Gordon. He practiced on Thursday. I think he is expected to play. He's probably going to be on a very limited role. I think they're going to just use him in certain formations and certain play designs. I don't think he's going to get a full workload, but I expect him to play. Jason, what do you think?
I think regardless of whether he plays or not, if you're a Josh Gordon owner, you sit him on the bench. He is not going to be good for a couple of weeks. He needs to work his way into this offense.
Yeah, favorable game at home against the Dolphins, though the Dolphins are 3-0, which is still...
That boggles the mind.
I mean, mind-blowing to say when you've got the 1-2 Patriots.
Yeah.
Green Bay Packers wide receiver Randall Cobb was added to the team's injury report on Thursday. He was limited in practice, dealing with a hamstring injury. That's never something you want to hear, somebody being added to the injury report midweek. And then he's expected to play. And then the Tennessee Titans have released wide receiver Rashard Matthews. He was their top receiver for the last couple of years. Hasn't really gotten going this year because he was coming back from injury. Reportedly, Matthews even asked to be released from the team. The team tried to find a trade suitor. One was not found, so they released the wide receiver, who is now an unrestricted. He's got to clear waivers, but he's a free agent. At the tight end position, Green Bay tight end Jimmy Graham returned to practice on Thursday, dealing with a knee injury. I think he's expected to play. And sadder news, Denver Broncos tight end Jake Butt suffered what is believed to be a non-contact torn ACL during the team's Week 4 walkthrough. They are waiting on the MRI results to confirm. So as of this recording, we don't know, but if that's the expectation, generally they are right because they don't assume the worst unless everything's pointing towards it. So Jake Butt, not necessarily a big weapon in fantasy football, but kind of an unsung hero and a guy in deeper leagues people were kind of holding on to. And it looks like his season is over. So that is our top headlines from around the league. Hopefully that gave you some insight on some of the players that you've been trying to research on. And with that, let's move on to why everybody is here, our topic of the day, our starts and sits for week number 4. So remember, these are not the biggest names in the world for the starts because you guys are obviously auto-starting your Todd Gurleys and whatnot, who had a pretty good game last night on Thursday night. But we are going to give you names that maybe are in that 2 to flex to maybe even waiver wire range that we think are worth start consideration. In some cases, we'll get a little passionate and say that, yeah, this guy will be probably a top performer, number 1 finish at the end of the week, but we'll see. Reminder, this is the first week that there are bye weeks. If you are the owner of Carolina Panthers or Washington Redskins players, check your lineups. Make sure you get those players out and other players in because they're not going to help you. They're going to give you a big fat zeros this week. So with that being said, let's move on and let's start as we go position by position as we always do. And I'm going to start with, at the quarterback position, one Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers, he has been very good through 3 weeks. He hasn't had the most unbelievable start at times. He's been a little bit frustrating, but he's put together good weeks, and he's got a pretty darn good matchup at home against the 49ers, who have lost basically everything that made their offense tick. And, I mean, even if Matt Breida comes back, they're still down their quarterback. This offense, I believe, is going to struggle to move the ball against this Chargers defense. Chargers are at home. The 49ers defense is not good. I think that the Chargers offense is going to be on the field often and with probably pretty good field position. I think that he is a no-brainer start this week. If he's a streamer, pick him up, start him with confidence. I would be starting Philip Rivers. Jason, who's your guy?
I'm going to go a little bit more unconventional. I'm going to say Baker Mayfield. They're in Oakland playing the Raiders. The Raiders' defense has not been all that great to start the season off, and they played teams like LA, Denver, and Miami. Haven't been great. They've allowed over 20 points in every single game that they've played. I think that Baker Mayfield is an upgrade on Tyrod Taylor, and I think that he is going to have a very nice first start. So I say start Baker Mayfield.
And those are your quarterback starts of the week. CJ couldn't even be bothered to submit. CJ. All right, moving on to the running back starts of the week. I am starting Giovanni Bernard, running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, this is a game that is probably going to have a lot of points in it. We talked about A.J. Green before and how he's he's got a lot of upside in this game, even if he plays a little bit hobbled. Well, Giovanni Bernard, I expect him to get the workload because I don't think Joe Mixon will be back this week. This is a very good matchup against a very banged-up defense, and last week he was in on almost 90% of the offensive snaps. He can catch the ball, he can run the ball. I don't think he's any Joe Mixon, but with an opportunity like this, playing against a defense that has given up, what was the numbers I saw? Almost 170 average yards from scrimmage and about 35 fantasy points to opposing running backs this season on average. I think it's an amazing opportunity. So, I would be starting Giovanni Bernard with confidence as long as Joe Mixon is inactive. So that would be my start of the week. Jason, your guy.
I'm going to go with Kareem Hunt. I know that if this was last year, everybody would be saying, well, no, duh, Kareem Hunt's amazing. Well, he hasn't had the best season so far. Off to kind of a slow start, which is surprising given how high-powered this offense he's playing in is. But they're playing against, they're in Denver, playing against Denver, and Denver has not been great against running backs so far. And this is Monday Night Football, so I think we're going to see Kareem Hunt get the ball more often here. And by the way, he has looked better and better over the last 2 games. He scored 2 touchdowns against San Francisco in Week 3. So I have a feeling that Kareem Hunt is on the rise, and I think now is a good time to start him.
There you go, your running back starts of the week. Moving on to the wide receiver position. I am starting one Will Fuller. Now, Deshaun Watson is back. He seems to be getting a little bit better continuity with the offense. And we talked about how DeAndre Hopkins is all types of banged up. Well, this is a favorable matchup against the Colts, whose defense is not very good right now. And I just think that this is an opportunity for him to get a lot more volume with DeAndre Hopkins banged up. They're going to put everything that they can into stopping him. Probably they're going to try and stuff Lamar Miller at the line. And so I think that leaves Will Fuller picking up all the pieces. I think he has a very good floor, higher than normal, because I always see him as a boom-bust type player. I think his floor is very high. Deshaun Watson obviously likes targeting him, and his ceiling, I think, is ridiculously high with all those other factors taken into account. So I am starting Will Fuller with confidence this week. Jason, your guy.
A lot of people are going to raise an eyebrow at this guy, but I'm going to say Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones has had 2 decent games the last 2 weeks against San Francisco and New England, and he scored a touchdown in both of those games. He's looking better, in my opinion. They're playing Dallas. I think that this Dallas team has been decent against wide receivers, but you know what? I just have a feeling that Marvin Jones is on the upswing, and I think that he's going to be a focal point for this offense in this game. Marvin Jones is my start.
There you go. And now moving on to the tight end starts of the week. I am starting a guy who was beloved in fantasy circles coming into the season, has not really had a good season yet. I mean, he caught a touchdown in week 2, which really saved him. But I am starting Trey Burton. Now, I know he only had 15 yards in week 1. Only had 20 yards in week 2. Oh, he had 55 yards last week. He's trending in the right direction. He got the touchdown in week 2. I think he's in an opportunity to get a very, very nice stat line this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, they have given up a lot of points. That's why Ryan Fitzpatrick and the offense have been putting up so many fantasy points, because they've been in shootouts. The Buccaneers are also not very good at stopping players out of the slot. Tight ends. The recipe points to the fact that Trey Burton has a get-right week this week, so I will be starting him, and I'll be banking on that factor. So, yeah, I'll be starting Trey Burton in my fantasy teams. Jason, your guy.
Jimmy Graham, Green Bay. So here's a guy going up against the Buffalo Bills team that looked amazing last week, but just don't believe it, guys. Okay, it was 1 week. They had a very, very good week. They had a team that took them lightly. I guarantee you that Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay don't take anyone lightly. So they're going to be coming into this game against Buffalo fully ready to play a team like they're playing the Super Bowl. So I believe Jimmy Graham is going to get an opportunity to score lots of points this week and hook up with Aaron Rodgers for his first touchdown as a Packer.
There you go. And those are our starts of the week. Moving on to our sits of the week. At the quarterback position, going straight down like we did last time, I am sitting Derek Carr. Derek Carr has had a very disappointing start to the season. He hasn't broken 20 fantasy points yet, and he's playing against a Cleveland Browns team that is clearly inspired. They are motivated, and they're actually just pretty darn good. This team has been stacking talent for seasons, and they seem to be putting it all together now. They've had the most draft picks by by a large margin. They've acquired players because they've had free agency pool. I mean, this defense is stacked with talent, and a lot of them aren't household names, but mark my words, a lot of them will be in a couple of years, and this is just going to be a bad situation. Derek Carr is at home. I understand that, and if you want to buy into that, you can start him, but I will be sitting him this week because the Browns are scary to me, and there's plenty of other streaming options I like a heck of a lot better than Derek Carr, so I would be sitting him and his very slow start to the season. Jason, your sit of the week.
My sit of the week, unfortunately, is Sam Darnold. Look, I love Sam, okay? I think that he is going to be the savior of New York. He's going to be very, very good for them, but he has not played well in the past couple of weeks. He started to go downhill. His best game was against Miami, 334 yards. Last week against Cleveland, he just got absolutely decimated. So he has not faced a defense like the Jacksonville Jaguars yet. He has not faced a defense that is that powerful. So I have a really bad feeling about this week. I think that he might look even worse. He may even get himself benched this game, depending on how good Jacksonville plays. I would sit Sam Darnold down this game.
There you go, your quarterback sits of the week. Running back sits, I am sitting Jay Ajayi. I'm worried that he's not going to be 100%. I'm worried he's still going to be banged up. I'm worried about all the other competition he has in that backfield, and I'm worried about the matchup going up against the Titans, who have not surrendered a single touchdown to a running back this season through 3 weeks. It's not good. The Titans defense, banged up as it is, they are still very good. They're stout against the run. This is just a recipe for failure for Jay Ajayi. I mean, I would be much happier seeing him going off on my bench than seeing him burn my team in my starting lineup, which is the way I think it's going to play out. So I will be sitting Jay Ajayi. Your sit of the week, Jason.
So my sit of the week is an entire position group. I have Derrick Henry down in the same game.
Oh, look at that.
Our running backs are from the same game. I have Derrick Henry down, but I also would sit down Dion Lewis. It's just not a really good idea to start a running back against this Philadelphia Eagles defense. Plus, both of these guys, Derrick Henry and Dion Lewis, haven't done too much in the last 2 weeks. Waiting on one of them to break out and take the lead, and they just haven't yet. So I would sit all of Tennessee Titan running backs down this week.
All right, there you go. You're sitting your running back sits of the week. Moving on to the wide receiver sits of the week. I'm echoing your quarterback sentiment. I am sitting Robbie Anderson. Honestly,
yeah,
I'm dumping Robbie Anderson if I need the roster space, dealing with bye weeks coming up. I'm going to need roster space. He has had a horrifically bad start to the season, and the reason is obvious. It's Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, he does not like to throw deep passes. He much prefers throwing short to intermediate routes to Quincy Enunwa. Robbie Anderson is a deep threat, speedy burner guy, and we, like you said, think that Sam Darnold will get there, and he'll start opening things up probably as he builds confidence, as he works his way more into with this team and in the league. But it's definitely not going to happen this week against the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road in Jacksonville. There's just no way that this works out well for him. If Robbie Anderson has an even decent week, it's going to be really just dumb luck, I think, and quite the fluke. Sorry, Jets fans. But yeah, Robbie Anderson is a guy I will be sitting this week. I will, in PPR leagues, I still like Quincy Enunwa, but I will not be starting Robbie Anderson. Your guy, Jason.
Well, my guy is, unfortunately, a guy I really, really like. Is Marquise Goodwin. And the reason I'm sitting him down, he's a little banged up, but that's not the main reason. The main reason is the quarterback situation in San Francisco. Not good. CJ Beathard is probably going to get the start. I mean, this is not Jimmy Garoppolo coming in here, and that's a real problem. Goodwin started taking off when Garoppolo came in and started throwing the ball down the field. So, and they're playing against a very good defense in the Chargers. I would sit Marquise Goodwin down. Just go with a different option.
There you go. And our tight end sits, I echo that sentiment because I am sitting San Francisco 49ers tight end George Kittle. Now, like you said, Jimmy Garoppolo's gone. CJ Beathard's in. That's concerning by itself, but they're also playing the Chargers. Chargers defense is better than their record shows and their stats follow. They also have not given a single touchdown to a tight end yet this season and have given up an average of under 6 points to opposing tight end position groups, not just any one tight end, but the opposing position group as a whole. So I will definitely be sitting George Kittle this week. This game is in Los Angeles, like we've said. No good's going to come from it. Take us home, Jason. Who is your final sit of the week?
Well, this one's a little shocking because I really believe in this guy this year. However, for this game, I am sitting down Jared Cook. Going up against an inspired Cleveland's team, as we've already mentioned. Cleveland team, as we've already mentioned a couple times. Cleveland is inspired. They're going to start winning games. They're going to start shocking people. That defense is real. Okay, guys, that defense is for real. There's a lot of talent on that defense. Also a team that has not given up a receiving touchdown to a tight end this season. Also a team just over 6 points, 6.6 points to the tight end on average throughout the year. Unfortunately, this is just a bad time to be Jared Cook. Derek Carr is having problems getting the ball down the field. I would have to sit him down.
All right, and there you go. Those are our starts and sits of the week. Super, super fast show. I guess that's what happens when you're a man down. But we got all the information out. And I guess with that, we're out of here. Everybody take care. We'll see you on Tuesday when we'll be back talking these studs and duds from week number 4, giving you the waiver wire targets you should be targeting. Of course, all the top headlines from around the league. Jason, any parting thoughts before we go?
Guys, hope you're enjoying the first part of the season here. And give us a shout out on Twitter. Tweet at me and ask me questions. I'm ready. Bring it on.
Absolutely. Submit your questions on Twitter to the show at the FF Fanatics, or you can follow us individually. I'm at GPalmerFFF. Jason is at JasonCabrera13. And make sure you guys also check with us on Twitter, our official page at the FF Fanatics, 3 Fs, and on Sunday mornings, because that's where you'll get your ins and outs for the games, your actives and inactives. So with that, we are out of here. Everyone take care. We'll see you on Tuesday. Bye.